Understanding measures of position in educational management. In educational management, understanding the distribution of data is vital for making informed decisions that can improve both student performance and overall institutional effectiveness. Measures of position, including the mean, median, quartiles, and percentiles, are statistical tools that offer valuable insights into the performance and behavior of individuals or groups. These measures provide a summary of data, allowing educators and administrators to analyze the spread, central tendency, and relative standing of data points in relation to each other. In this essay, we will explore the different measures of position, their advantages and disadvantages, and how they can be applied effectively in educational management. The mean is one of the most commonly used measures of central tendency. It is calculated by adding all data points together and dividing the sum by the number of data points. In the context of educational management, the mean is often used to summarize the performance of students, such as calculating the average score on a standardized test or the overall GPA of students in a class. The advantage of using the mean is its simplicity and its ability to provide a quick, overall measure of central tendency. It is particularly useful when you have a relatively uniform data set without significant outliers. However, one disadvantage of the mean is its sensitivity to extreme values or outliers. For example, if a few students score extremely high or low on a test, the mean may not accurately reflect the performance of the majority. This can be a problem when trying to assess the overall performance of a class or group of students. The median, on the other hand, is the middle value in a data set when it is ordered from least to greatest. If there is an even number of data points, the median is the average of the two middle values. The median is a useful measure in educational management when the data set contains outliers or is skewed. Unlike the median is not affected by extreme values, which makes it a more reliable measure in certain situations. For example, if a class's test scores are heavily skewed, the median will provide a better representation of the central tendency. However, the disadvantage of the median is that it does not take into account all the data points in the set, and thus may not fully capture the data's characteristics. Quartiles divide a data set into 4 equal parts, providing further insight into the spread of the data. The first quartile, Q1, represents the 25th percentile, the second quartile, Q2, is the median or 50th percentile, and the third quartile, Q3, represents the 75th percentile. The quartiles are helpful in educational management because they offer a more detailed understanding of where most of the data points lie, particularly in relation to the middle 50% of the data. For example, quartiles can be used to assess the distribution of student test scores, allowing educators to identify the lower and upper boundaries of student performance. One advantage of using quartiles is that they highlight where the bulk of the data lies, giving educators a clearer picture of student performance across different groups. However, a disadvantage is that quartiles may overlook the extremes of the data, such as the lowest or highest scores, which could be important for targeted interventions. Percentiles are similar to quartiles but divide the data into 100 equal parts. Percentiles provide a more granular view of the data, helping to identify specific positions within the distribution. For instance, the 10th percentile represents the value below which 10% of the data points fall, while the 90th percentile represents the value below which 90% of the data points fall. In educational management, percentiles can be used to compare individual students to their peers. For example, a student in the 90th percentile is performing better than 90% of their classmates. This can be useful for identifying students who are excelling or struggling, enabling educators to intervene appropriately. The advantage of using percentiles is that they provide a detailed understanding of how a specific data point compares to others. However, percentiles are not always easy to interpret, especially for those unfamiliar with statistical concepts, and may not provide as clear a summary as the mean or median. Each of these measures of position has its advantages and disadvantages, and their application in educational management depends on the context of the data being analyzed. When evaluating the overall performance of a group, the mean is often a useful starting point. However, when the data contains outliers or is skewed, the median or quartiles may be more appropriate. Percentiles are valuable when comparing individual students to the broader student body, helping to identify those who need additional support or challenges. In educational management, the application of these measures can help school leaders make data-driven decisions. For example, using the mean to assess the average test score across a school can highlight areas for improvement, while the median can provide a better picture of typical student performance in cases where there are outliers. Quartiles can help school leaders understand how different groups of students are performing, and percentiles can provide insight into the distribution of student performance at the individual level. By using these measures, educators can identify trends, develop targeted interventions, and ensure that their instructional practices are based on accurate, data-driven insight. In conclusion, measures of position, mean, median, quartiles, and percentiles are vital tools in educational management. They offer different ways to summarize and understand data, and each measure has its advantages and disadvantages depending on the context. By applying these measures, educational leaders can gain a clearer understanding of student performance, identify areas of improvement, and make more informed decisions that ultimately contribute to the success of the students and the school as a whole. Understanding how to use and interpret these measures is crucial for creating an educational environment that is responsive to the needs of all learners.